Kitzbuhel's about as close as you can get to the stereotypical alpine scene. A pretty town, colourful buildings, all surrounded by glorious grass-covered mountains. In the winter it's home to one of the most important downhill ski races, and a mecca for winter sports enthusiasts. But in the summer it's time to swap those ski boots for hiking boots, because there's no better way to see those mountains than to get up close and personal.
Kitzbuhel has a very wide valley and very smooth landscapes in comparison to other alpine destinations in Austria, Switzerland or in France. The valley as such is located only 800 meters above sea level, but the skiing destination, also the walking destination, goes up to 2000 meters. But we also have rocky mountains, and that's what makes our scenery so special. It's not too hot in summer, and it's moderate climate. And as we are very close to Italy, you can already feel some Mediterranean influence coming from the south.
I'd agreed, somewhat against my better judgment, to join a small group of hikers for a couple of nights in the mountains. There was no creeping back to a nice warm luxury hotel at the end of each day. Instead, we were to make use of the network of mountain huts that offer basic but excellent food and accommodation high up on the mountain slopes. Getting to the top was easy, but while we headed up in the cable car, our superfit mountain guide had decided to walk up to the summit of the 2,000-metre Kitzbuhel. It was as if he was trying to show us just how easy this mountain hiking was going to be. To be honest, at that particular moment, walking was the last thing on our mind. We were all totally transfixed by the panoramic view. What is it that makes us want to linger in such places, wandering around the tiny summit, to make sure we've seen every view from every angle? The silence rubs off and hardly anyone speaks. It's just you and the sound of the mountains. Once we did get going, I'd say the hiking was energetic rather than difficult. The paths and tracks are well marked and well maintained. The constantly changing scenery just makes you want to go on and on so that you can see even more. Eventually we came over a crest and headed towards the Kitzbuhel hut. This beautiful wooden hut was to be our home for the night. So while we had the chance of sitting down and relaxing on the balcony, our guide finally stood still for long enough to tell us more.
My name is Engelbert. I'm living in Kitzbuhel, and we are here of 1,645 meters. Our mountain's not really rough. We have not the really rocky mountains here. We have a lot of grass mountains. We have also the highest grass mountains of Europe. It's called the Geiststein. He is 2,363 meters high, and it's a lovely area. We have a lot of walking trails here from the farmers, where they brought off in the old time the cows up in the high area to feed them with the grass. And now we can use these nice mountain trails for our walking. We have about 1,000 kilometers on the walking trails here in the Kitzbühel Alps, and it's also nice to see all the nice different flowers here.
There are flowers everywhere, but just a few hundred meters down from the summit of the Kitzbühel is the Alpenblumengarten. It's maybe not what you expect to find at the top of the mountain, but this whole area is full of surprises, and I'm told it's the highest public garden in Europe. I was beginning to get quite jealous of Engelbert and what he calls his office.
I think it's one of the best jobs of the world. We have very light walking trails, so when you're starting with hill walk or mountain walks, you can try it here easily. But we have also the experienced walkers here. Then we have the lovely mountain huts here, where you can stay overnight, yes, and you get a lot of nice, new, fresh ideas what you can do in the mountains here. You get feeling the sunset and also the sunrise later on.
The beautiful colours of the sunset we were just witnessing. But the next morning it was going to be an early start if we were going to see the sun rise. By the time we woke, about an hour before dawn, Engelbert, who had walked back down the mountain to his home in Kitzbuhel the night before, had already walked back up the mountain to meet us and take us to his favourite place to watch the sunrise. Slowly, very, very slowly, it began to get lighter. Even before the sun had poked its head above the distant peaks, light began to appear on the other mountains around us. There was no instantaneous wow moment. Instead, like us, the sun seemed to gently yawn and stretch its way into life. It was still a magical place to be. After a hearty breakfast in the hut, it was off for a full day's hiking across the Kitzbühel Alps. The breathtaking alpine views were endless, and we also passed a fair number of alpine residents as we headed for Lammerbiklaan, a small farm complex that nestles on the side of the 1800-metre Stuckkogel. Arriving there around lunchtime, it made the perfect stop for a beer and some strudel before heading on to reach our next summit of Karstein. Although this is only an intermediate track, it was quite heavy going up the steep incline. There are regular drinking spots along the way which divert the clear mountain streams into log troughs. As with everything in this region, it's very simple, understated, but it just works perfectly in harmony with the surroundings. When we eventually reach the tiny summit of Karstein, there's just a plain cross with a simple sign marking the 1922 metres it is above sea level. As well as yet another superb panorama, there's a real sense of achievement at each new mountain you conquer. As we headed back down to the valley, it also made a great topic of conversation at the next overnight stop.
Kitzbühel has international signage, we have standardized walking signage according to Swiss standards. We have various difficulty levels, so it's for beginners, it's for intermediate walkers, but also we have a big offer of alpine trails that are more challenging. We have climbing trails also, and for the beginners we offer free guided walks from Monday to Friday. We have theme walks, we have Nordic walking trails. It's all equipped with professional signage. We have GPS tracks online to be downloaded. And of course the most important factor is our culture, our cultural landscapes, like the huts, like the mountain inns and the good food and drinks.
After our days in the mountains, it was good to relax with a proper look around the town of Kitzbühel. Again, there are excellent local guides who will help you make the most of your time. Kitzbühel isn't a big town, but it is incredibly pretty. The historic centre was originally part of the medieval copper and silver mining industry. The old defences and the wealthy merchants' houses still line the main streets alongside the quaint shops and cafes.
The centre of Kitzbühel is exactly what you'd expect of an Austrian town centre. It's bright, it's colourful, it's bustling with people, and it's a great place to sit and have a drink and unwind after your walk in the mountains. Cheers.
At the far end of the town is the 15th century Pfarrkirche, with its Baroque altars and statuary.
Kitzbühel is already in the third generation of tourism, so walking started at the end of the 19th century already, when the railway stations were built all over Europe. And that's also when the first aristocrats, also from Great Britain, came to Kitzbühel to enjoy the beautiful scenery. So we already started developing our walking infrastructure nearly 200 years ago.
The range of accommodation stretches from the basic mountain huts to luxury 5-star resorts. I stayed just outside the main town at the very impressive Grand Tyrolia Golf and Ski Resort.
We have the best areas here, skiing areas, and also in summertime golf, and we are in the middle of the golf course with the resort, and therefore it's really the best location you can have. We have a 1,500 square meter Aveda spa where you can relax the whole day in doing treatments, relaxing, reading, doing sport in the fitness, or if you want to swim. We have an indoor-outdoor pool and also indoor-outdoor whirlpool. You can go also to Salzburg to have a nice nice shopping tour, or also in Munich. But the most of them coming here really to relax, and therefore it's so important that it's not far from the airports and it's located in a nice surrounding here.
The Gran Tirolio was a great place to stay, and the area around the town is also worth exploring. The nearby Schwarze Sea, or Black Sea, has a large water park, boats and canoes to hire, and some delicious ice cream. Of course, not all the walks around Kitzbuhel are quite as strenuous as having to go over mountain tops. This one, around the lake, just a couple of kilometres outside Kitzbuhel, is wonderful for a sunny day. This really sums up Kitzbuhel as a place that offers the perfect alpine getaway. There's ample opportunity to explore the mountain, whatever your fitness level or ability. But after that exertion, there are also plenty of places to relax. Take a wander around the town, or a dip in the wonderfully clean and surprisingly warm lake.